Joining me now from Palm Springs, CNN's Brian Todd. Brian, look, we've already seen these really long gas lines. You've seen supplies that are flying off the shelves. How, Brian, are people preparing down there?
Well, Laura, you mentioned the long gas lines. They're preparing in part by making a run on gasoline, as they have been at this Wawa station in Palm Springs all day long. We were just told by people here that this station is almost out of gas, but that a tanker truck is close by and should be arriving very soon. But we'll show you just kind of the kind of runs they've been making here. These lines have been snaking out these driveways and down the street pretty much all day long. They've got two lines here merging into one of them coming off another street, one of them coming off this street here that you're looking at. Now, the key question is, what are Florida state officials doing to try to get gasoline to some of these stations? Governor Ron DeSantis has said, look, we've got gas, but because of the high demand all over the state, we have limited ability to get the gas from the ports to stations like this. So what they're doing is they are waiving tanker truck fees, service fees for the tanker trucks to come. They're escorting tanker trucks with state highway patrols to try to get them to these places faster. But still, there's a big run on gas. They are worried about, a lot of these stations running out. A lot of stations around here have already run out of gasoline. People here not knowing whether they're going to have to evacuate starting Sunday or not. And I talked to the manager of this place, Larry Peck, earlier today, and I asked him whether his customers are starting to get maybe a little edgy. But do people, as we get closer to the storm, do they start to panic a little bit, do tempers flare? What goes on?
They do. I mean, they do. They get a little bit antsy, but I think because of the seriousness of this storm, I see this happening a lot sooner.
And Peck told me that on an average day, he's got about 1,700 people buying gas here. He thinks that has more than tripled over the past couple of days. There have been complaints, Laura, about some price gouging of water and gas in some places. Not here. This manager here is taking a lot of steps to, to not do that at all. But there have been complaints about that. But state officials, the Attorney General's Office of Florida is telling CNN they've got a task force in place to try to head off that problem.
Dorian was just upgraded to a Category 4 hurricane. So let's go right back to Tom Sater. Tom, give us the latest on that.
Not a big surprise, John. At the top of the hour, mentioned at the 8 p.m. advisory from the National Hurricane Center that we saw the greatest drop in pressure from any advisory to the next. It's a 20 millibar drop. What that means is when that pressure drops significantly, it takes a while for the winds then to pick up. It's just getting stronger. Yesterday at this hour, it was a Category 1. Expecting to go to 2 at 11 p.m., and it did. That means in a 24-hour period, we have now jumped from a Category 1 hurricane to a Category 4. This is amazing. Could it get to a 5? Yes, it can, and most likely will now. When you look at a well-defined eye like this, and we've got, we're still over 500 miles away from, let's say, the coast of Florida, we've got a lot more warmer water to contend with. I mean, we go from the mid-80s to the upper 80s, and that's significant. Now, when you look at this track, I want to point out a few things. Here we are currently at a Category 4. Then notice how it goes to 3, then back to 4. This is going to be a new track in 2 hours. So what they're showing us here is still the older track, but what it is currently. So at about 11 p.m., we're going to get a new track from the National Hurricane Center, and it's going to be interesting to see. Are we going to see a 5 moving into the area? A couple things to just recap this 8 p.m. advisory. What does this tell us? First and foremost, all of Florida is still in that cone of uncertainty. As this storm now continues to build, those strong winds, hurricane winds and tropical storm force winds, will continue to expand. So that storm not only will look larger on a satellite imagery, those winds will be wider and stronger. So everyone is still involved here. The other thing to look at is when we get in closer, we're looking at a slow process of heavy, heavy, heavy rainfall. Again, saturated ground. They can't take much. It's like trying to pour water into an empty bucket. Well, now this bucket is full, and we're going to drop a dump truck on top of it. The other thing, we still have the possibility of this thing sliding off the coast and edging to the east. But one last thing. It is going to make landfall right now as a Category 4. Here's the definition of Category 4. Catastrophic damage will occur. Well-built frame homes can sustain severe damage with loss of most of roof structures and some exterior walls. Power could be out for weeks or months, and most of the area will be uninhabitable for weeks.
Even before you meet Elsa Hull, you'll certainly know what's on her mind as you enter her property.
It would just be total destruction of my life.
The 51-year-old mother of two lives in the tiny town of San Ignacio, Texas. There is no border wall on or near her 3 acres, yet.
When you heard this report, and the White House doesn't deny it, they say President Trump was joking when he was talking about pardoning people who started construction of the wall without following the legal regulations, environmental regulations. Do you believe he could have been joking?
Why would he be joking? They're willing to break every law there is out there.
Elsa Hall believes the president's words mean her property, where she's lived for almost 2 decades, could be taken by the government at any time for construction of a barrier.
I cannot convey how angry I am.
I'm standing right on the international borderline, adjacent to Elsa Hall's property. This is the Rio Grande. Doesn't look like it though, because portions of it are dry this time of year. So it looks like it would be very easy to cross from Mexico into the United States right now.
But it's far from any major population centers.
In 20 years, how many people have you seen crossing the Rio Grande from Mexico to the United States?
Absolutely zero in this location, zero. I trip sensors all the time, even here and other places along the river, and Border Patrol will magically appear in the middle of nowhere. I'm tripping sensors. The technology works. They don't need a wall.
Hull says she was told earlier this year by a Border Patrol supervisor that a wall was, quote, going to happen on her property and throughout this area. After she heard that, she painted this on her roof. And now, the president's pardon comment has made her scared that her life may be about to change forever.
The international border of the Rio Grande is 200 yards to our left. That's the border.
Yes.
But you've been told by a Border Patrol chief in this area that it's going to happen, a wall,
Yes.
and that it could go through your land. They'll seek to buy your land or then take it if you won't give it up, or put it just to the north of your land, putting you
Right.
in the middle of
And
a no man's land. The wall would be there, but the international border would be here, and you'd be between 2 countries.
Yeah, I mean,
And could you live like that between 2 countries?
I would not leave. I can't leave.
She says she's been worried about this possibility throughout the entire Trump presidency.
I don't think has been a day gone by since all this started that I am not in tears at one point or another over all this.
But now that concern has reached a much higher level.
They're going to have to drag me off of here. I'm not leaving willingly. There's just no way. I can't leave my home.
Gary Tuchman, CNN, San Ignacio, Texas.